So I'm going to try one of these longer form videos this time. First of all, just want to make clear to Keir Starmer that Britain doesn't want a war with Russia. We don't want to join in with a war against Russia on behalf of Ukraine. We don't like Ukraine as much as you. Just because you've got lots of friends from Ukraine, mind you, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? There's plenty of Ukrainians that don't seem to like Keir Starmer. Is he trying to make up for it? So, oh, look, I know I haven't paid you boys, but look, I'm going to send our army in on your behalf. What is it he's got with Ukraine that makes him want to send our army over there to fight a losing battle against one of the world's superpowers? The guy's a lunatic. I mean, he's so stupid. Everybody hates him. Nobody can stand him. He won an election basically just through apathy, because most people either didn't vote, because nearly 70% of the people in Britain did not vote at all, and the ones that did vote, most of them were protest votes against the Conservatives and didn't think that a vote for reform would make enough difference to actually definitely garner a political position. It nearly did, which is why people are so upset probably that they didn't actually, the ones that sort of abstained should have just said, oh, you know what, have a go anyway, because now we have Nigel Farage in charge. And I think people are gutted. But Starmer's government is just constantly moving forward in a trajectory that is just destroying the country. That's all he's doing. You know, he's trying to have a war with Russia today. Okay, that's today's thing. Yesterday it was, they're going to work out some sort of net zero bullshit tax on water now. I mean, the whole problem with water and with electricity at the end of the day is that we haven't got enough. There's one reason for that: uncontrolled immigration. Now, there's nothing wrong with having proper immigration. If they come for the port of entry and are checked and we say, yeah, we need those skills. I mean, you know, if they're doctors and engineers and nurses and all the rest of it like they're supposed to be, we say, yeah, we need some of them. Come on in, chaps. By the way, got to get a job, all right? You know, and let them work. That's the sort of immigration we need. Obviously, we don't need the ones that float across on the old boats, dump their passports in the drink so nobody knows who they are, and hide their criminal records. And then they come in, you give them a 5-star hotel, just live there, chaps, 3 meals a day, all the rest of it. Oh, do you want a couple of grand a month? Oh, yeah, there you go, have some of that. Do you need a car? Oh, have a car. All the bullshit we put up with. If that all stopped and we had an actual net migration which was sensible, then we wouldn't be running out of services. We'd be able to get a doctor's appointment. I mean, my little girl has to go private dentist because there isn't a dentist locally that can take NHS anyway. So she has to go private. She's got no choice. My doctor tries to convince me to go private. I mean, I'm seriously ill. I'm disabled. But my doctor doesn't really want me going in because he ain't got the time to see me. Ain't got time to look after me. I have nurses that come and see me. They rarely turn up. When they turn up, they're a rush. Or they try and they say, oh, we're coming round now. I say, sorry, but you were supposed to come this morning. I got people here. Oh, well, we can't tell you when we're going to come in. Well, you know, what sort of health service is that? That's not this efficient. That's what in America, I'm always having this conversation in the States. All my friends in the States, they go, yeah, but you've got free healthcare, that's really worth its weight in gold. No, it ain't. It ain't worth nothing. Because if you saw the state of Southmead Hospital when I was there, needles all over the floor, shitty fucking tissues everywhere, crap. Do you know what? I was led in a bed for nearly a week, right? Every day they're changing my dressings, and in the course of that, off my legs, there's an awful lot of poison and all the rest of it coming out my legs, right? So what they would do, they take all the dressings off and chuck them away, then they'd disappear. They'd leave me for a couple of hours, 2-3 hours, with my legs undressed, just in the bed, soaking into all the sheets. Then they come in, put the dressings on, in with all the shitty crap that's come out at my legs anyway, off the bed, and then they leave me in the bed. And the bed would be soaking wet, so I'd have to try and manoeuvre myself around to find a dry part of the bed to lie in. And I went on for a week, and I finally said to someone, look, is there any chance someone could change the bed? Because, it's horrible. is soaking wet. Because it's either soaking wet from where they've given me a wash, or it's soaked in fucking shit. You know, this horrible stuff. And okay then. And eventually they changed the bloody bedding. But they weren't going to. It wasn't standard to change my bedding. Yeah, I'm in there with sepsis. You know, every infection could kill me. So it was just horrible. And I'm not embarrassed to say that it was just disgusting. They can argue with me all they want. If they want to have an argument, there's no problem. I ended up ringing the head of nursing for South West at 10:30 on a night time, because a nurse came in to do my dressings. I had the dressings ready because I use specific dressings because I'm allergic to many of the dressings. So I actually bought and paid for my own. I had them there. This nurse came in, foreigner. She looked like Orinoco. And she turned up and she said, I'm going to do your dressing. I said, okay, brilliant. I said, the dressings over there. I'm not using them. I said, what do you mean not using them? That's the ones that's what I use. That's what my heart specialist told me that I got to use. You know, those are mandated. That's what's on my bloody doctor's notes. That's what I use. No, not using them. I'm using these. And she had in her hand ones. I said, well, I'm allergic to all of them. I can't use them. You put them on my legs. I'm going to go to anaphylactic shock. No, that's what I'm using. If I'm not going to use them, I'm going. I said, go on then, fuck off. And off she went. So I rang up head of nursing, had this woman marched out the building. And then they sent in a nurse who actually put on the dressings. I supplied the bloody things, cost me fucking money, but they wouldn't put them on my legs. And I had to supply me dressing. My missus had to bring in dressings every day to make sure they had enough dressings to use on me, because the hospital wouldn't supply the dressings. They are a standard issue, NHS. They just couldn't be bothered to order any in, apparently. There's none in any cupboards. Well, order some. I'm in hospital, you won't let me go home. Fucking order some dressings. But yeah, anyway, that's the NHS. I digress. So the NHS is in a shit state. And it's down to, they haven't got enough resources, because we've now got probably several million people in the country. We don't bloody know they're here. And they're all using our services. They're not told not to use the services, because there's no checks and balances. There's no, well, you've got your passport on, you just prove you are English, or you're entitled, you're supposed to be here to get this service. Oh no, because I mean, they're supposed to bill you. If you're from abroad, you're supposed to get a bill at the end and say, there you go, this is your contribution to the NHS. Well, of course, they don't bother doing that because they're enforceable, isn't it? The guy's going to go, oh yeah, si senor, fuck off out the back door. They're going to pay it. It's a false name they got anyway, I expect. So anyway, mass immigration, uncontrolled immigration, a loss of control of the borders is costing this country, and it's costing us in all these ways. So you've got the potential for tax on water. So if you use too much water, what's too much water? And anyway, water's bloody here. This is our, it's been paid for over years. We're entitled to it. We want to charge anybody for it. Charge visitors, charge immigration, but not people that lived there all their lives and born here all their lives. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, they're going to tax that. Electricity. I've always said, since they talked about smart meters, I've always said that people would never get one, because what they will eventually do is use that to ration you. You'll either they can remotely switch these things off, so it'll stop you having electric. So if they want to have a rolling blackout, they will just they'll switch off grids. And if you're in that grid, you won't have electric for that period. That'll just be tough shit. There's nothing you can do about it, because it would be switched off. If they want to force you into your electric car, but only allow you to charge electric car at certain times, they could monitor your usage and say, oh, Steve's plugged his car in, fuck that, we're not allowing that. Switch my electric off, or switch it down, throttle it so it doesn't charge very fast, or whatever. You're giving the government control, and they don't deserve it, because they've not proved that they're capable of looking after things. Look at Miliband, can't even eat a bacon fucking sandwich without looking like a twat. And he's in charge of electric and gas and energy, but he's an idiot. When he was a leader of the Labour Party, he was laughing stock. They should have learnt then. He's not fit to be a cabinet member. He's not fit to be anything. He's a moron. Just a moron. Simple as that. He's a moron. Net zero. No need for it. The Arctic Circle in the Antarctic has grown 18% year on year. I thought we were having global warming. It was all melting. No, it's growing. So that just immediately, that finishes your climate change bullshit, doesn't it? End of story. There's no more climate change bullshit. You can't convince me there's climate change. I never believed it in the first place, but you couldn't convince me now, because the climate It's getting colder, if anything. There's more ice. That's because the Earth regulates itself. And man, we are just a pathetic little pinprick on the arse of the Earth. That's all we are. We're like a fucking flea on the backside of your dog. That's how much effect we actually really have over the Earth, how much control we really have over the Earth. The Earth changes itself. Science works in mysterious ways. Or God, if you're a religious person. The Earth will always look after itself. It's been here millions of years. We haven't. And we will be long gone, and the Earth will still be here. I can guarantee that. All the animals that have died out over the years, those animals in their sentience probably thought they were here forever. And they ain't here now, but the Earth is. Nothing's changed on the Earth. But climate change is a load of bollocks. So we can stop all that. That would reduce the cost of electric, reduce the cost of water, reduce the cost of everything. But we do need to get immigrants out. If you're not supposed to be here, I'm sorry, they need to get a load of big old cruise ships they ain't using anymore and fill the fuckers up and float these people out, take them to a country that's empty. Now look, in the 1980s, we had Live Aid, didn't we? Oh, Bob Geldof, sod off over there. I mean, he's a twat anyway, but he sod off over there, sang a song about bloody all Africa and all that, they're in trouble, send them money. That was the way to do it. If you're going to look after these countries, you send them money, but ideally what you do is you keep control of the money. You don't give it to the leaders, because the leaders just go out by Ferraris. You control the money, you teach them how to farm, how to cultivate, how to use the land better, how to make themselves not starve, how to grow food, how to do things. That's what you do. You put infrastructure in, like the British colonisers did all those years ago. Oh, it's a terrible thing to do. Oh, we were evil. Oh God, we went all over the world. We were evil. We took over these countries. Yeah, we gave them hospitals, schools, a fucking government, everything. We looked after them all. They were all better off before, when they were under the British rule and the French rule and the Spanish rule and everybody else who ever ruled anybody. They were all better off for it. And when they got rid of that rule, look at South Africa. What a shithole now. I mean, it's just horrible there. They're all poor now. It's just that, years ago, yes, the apartheid period was incorrect. I mean, obviously that's wrong. But South Africa itself as a nation was a very rich nation, and it had lots of resources. It managed itself properly. It had farms. It had everything else. It was a functioning nation. And now it's basically gangster city. I mean, they're killing farmers. They don't let the farm, but they're not killing the farmers to take over the farms because they want to run the farms and feed themselves, which would be understandable, I suppose, in that warped sense that they are. But no, they just want to kill the farmers. Take over the land. They then burn the land, kill all the animals. They don't grow nothing. The farmers just become derelict. So all of a sudden, now you've got one less farm providing food. So they're gradually starving themselves. Then guess whose door they're going to knock on? They ain't going to knock on an African nation to help them, are they? They're going to come to the West. They're going to come to France and Spain and Holland and Britain and America and say, oh, give us a hand out because we need money. Well, they already do. They already got loads of aid. In the 80s, they were one of the richest countries in the world. They didn't need aid. Do now. They all need it now. But the thing is, at least if you've got aid going there, they stay put. They look after themselves. They do their thing. The culture remains around them that they're used to, that they live in, that they enjoy. But instead what you're doing by encouraging this just mass immigration of just numerous people of all these different cultures, no matter how nice those cultures are within themselves, if they're incompatible with the culture here, you've either got to have assimilation, true assimilation of the cultures, whereby those people coming in recognise that they've got to fit in with us, not the other way round. They're the ones coming. They've got to fit in with the culture of the country they're coming to. Presumably that's what they should want to be doing. But if they're not prepared to do that, they can't come. They've got to stay where they are. So if you've got a load of illegal immigrants and they all happen to be of the Muslim faith or the Islam faith, whatever way you've got to say it these days, I never bloody know. But if they're all Islamic, why come here? It's not an Islamic country. We don't want to be an Islamic country. Simple as that. They don't need to be here. But there are lots of Islamic countries in the world. They could go to any of them. So why don't we just help them go to those countries? We could send aid to those countries to help them settle those migrants. It costs us a whole lot less than it costs us for 5-star hotels, free debit cards and mobile phones and all the rest of the rubbish they get over here. Let's give them some aid and send them to places where they fit in, because automatically they're going into a culture that they fit in easily. Presumably they wouldn't be all the rioting and all the rubbish we've seen in France this week. In France this week, they tried to blame it on the PSG game, but unfortunately for mainstream media, the rioting started before the game ever started. So that's not an excuse. It's not a celebration of PSG winning or losing or whatever they did. It's just down to it was a cultural uprising. They were stamping their dominance. They're like alpha dogs showing that they run France. And the French didn't cope with it very well. And 2 police officers, as I remember, died that night. 192 were injured the last time I saw the figures. 550 odd arrests. And the vast majority were a certain demographic. You know, scientists and doctors that have come for migration. Some of them, 2nd and 3rd generation. But joining in, obviously, with the newcomers, because they've decided at some point that their culture must be dominant in France instead of the French culture being dominant. And that's sad, because France was I never liked the French, to be fair. I mean, you know, when I was at school, we used to call them froggies. But, you know, France has its own ways. The Spanish are the same. The British are the same. Everyone has their own ways. It's not very French at the moment, most of the places over there, if you look. Bit like London and parts of it, Birmingham and Manchester and Liverpool and Bristol and all the bigger cities here. Not very British by appearance. And that's got to change. That because all it does is breed contempt. And Starmer and his mates saying, oh, you can't criticise this, you can't say this, you can't say that. Well, that's fine if you say it, but that doesn't help, because it doesn't help anything assimilate. What you do is that you then push the sentiment underground, and then you'll get the idiots who take it too far. And you cause more problems than you solve. What you need to do is look at the problem itself and say, look, hold on a minute. Common sense says that a Christian, you know, if I went to Saudi Arabia and I said, look, you've got to live like me, I ain't living like you, sod that, for goodness sake, take that towel off your head, I would get my hands chopped off. If I was lucky, they'd probably chop everything else off. You know, if a Western woman goes over there and gets SA'd, they lock the woman up for allowing herself to be SA'd, right? They don't lock up the blokes that did it. They lock up the girl who is deemed to have allowed herself to be SA'd. And you know what I mean by SA'd, I'm just saying that for YouTube. Which is ridiculous. Obviously, she never committed the crime. She never did nothing wrong. But because she got SA'd, apparently she's now a criminal and she does the time. She's the one who gets locked up. They get celebrated. And in fact, her parents, if they lived in Saudi Arabia, would have to pay the assailants compensation for having to put up with having to SA this, you know, the young lady. Absolutely ridiculous. But at the end of the day, that's the way their rules are. Therefore, when you go there, you abide by their rules because you're a guest in that country. You might intend to live there for life, but you still have to then assimilate. You can practice what you want behind your own closed doors, and in certain parts they segregate off parts of the cities to be international zones where you can, things like drinking and that, you can't drink in Saudi Arabia, but there are international areas, international hotels where, provided you stay within certain boundaries, you are allowed to partake of Western culture, which is great. That's exactly what it should be. They respect their nation's culture, overall culture, the way they live. They respect it, and that's the way they do things. That's the way we need to do things. It's the same thing. Say, look, you can do what you want in certain places because that, you know, you're a community. You work as a community, but that community has to integrate properly when they come outside of it. There's nothing wrong with saying that. That's not racism. That's nothing to do with anything like that. That's common sense to maintain the public balance. But we don't have that, so we have to go and say, okay, well, look, if we're not prepared to do that because we're worried about being called racist, if we say that, then what we have to do is say, well, okay, you can't come. And the ones that are already here will have to go because we're getting too many problems. So like 3 times as many of those convicted of SA are illegal compared to Indigenous Brits. You know, there's many more murders. The crime figures stand out that the illegal part of the nation causes more problems for its ratio of people. Therefore, you have to address that problem, and the problem is that percentage. Yes, there's Indigenous Brits that are evil bastards, and they got to be locked up as well. But we need room in the prison to do that, you know. And when you're locking people up for a dodgy tweet, you know, like Lucy Connolly, she says dodgy tweet, she realises what she's put, she takes it down, apologises, gets interviewed, says, look, I'm ever so sorry. I was angry. I've been through my own terrible personal situation in her case. Obviously, they're not all the same as that, but you know, that's why I did it. I was angry and upset. I let it out. I shouldn't have done. I've taken it down. I've apologised. That should have been the end of it. But she's doing 20 months or whatever it is, or 25 months, and they're not even letting her out. And her husband's dying. You know, this is getting ridiculous. I mean, that is just crazy, because there's people who are getting done for assault of all sorts that you would imagine would be locked up. If they said their sentence to you, you'd be like, what? I would have thought if I'd done that, I'd get 10 times that. And they go, no, you get 3 months on that. That's you know, because he only chopped his head off. Huh? What? You know, I watched a YouTube video the other day. Two geezers fighting with knives, obviously migrants or look like migrants. They were speaking Arabic to each other, or what sounded like Arabic to each other, and they were of that persuasion. So I assume, well, it might be legal, I suppose, but they were certainly of that culture. And they were fighting with these fucking great knives like that. They were, you know, about 18 inches bloody long. And it's like a sword fight. It's like you're watching Robin Hood from the 50s. That, you know, the colorised Errol Flynn thing, where they're swinging the bloody blades at each other and fighting. It's quite impressive, really, in a way that they were able to avoid each other. But then all of a sudden, one of them shouted. And what's you thinking? What's he shouting at? And the other one just fucks off quick as he can, like he's gone. I thought, oh, he's been hit. So he's run off, like he's gone. He's been beat because now he knows what it feels like. He didn't want to have another go. No, he wasn't that at all. Because the other one, who screamed, looks down, and he's looking around. And he reaches down, picks up his hand off the floor because his hand's been cut off. Right, his hand's gone. So he picks his hand up off the floor, and him and his mates then walk off the other direction, presumably to find a hospital to sew his bloody hand back on. But it's like, it had no effect on the guy, because wherever he's from, he's been hardened to the point that means nothing. Oh, he had his hand chopped off. Oh, well, that happens in a knife fight. Better go get it sewn back on and come back to fight another day. Never mind. Christ, if that happened to me, I think I'd die of shock. I'd be there already. I'd be finished. Chop your hand off. And it's no wonder these bloody great things. I mean, I don't know if you ever held these big machetes. I have held one. And these big blades are so heavy, they can't help but do damage, because there's so much weight behind them. If they hit you, they ain't stopping, just bouncing off like a penknife would. You try to hit someone with a penknife, it's not even going to mark them, because it just bounces off, because there's no force behind it. It's a light blade. You have to really try hard to stab someone. But these bloody great blades, I mean, if you just dropped it, blade down onto your hand, it'd go through your hand and chop into it. The weight of them. I mean, when you're swinging at someone, I mean, the force that goes through them. Frightening you to death. But anyway, this is becoming a big problem, isn't it? And we have to deal with it. But that's just one problem out of many this country has. We've got to stop with the net zero. We've got to stop with the illegal immigration. If you've got a country and if you don't look after the borders of the country, you ain't really got a country. You've not got a sovereignty there anymore. The king needs to look at this. Not that he bloody will. He talks to the plants and all the rest of it. I mean, he talks to his mates at the WEF. And of course, the WEF, the World Economic Forum, is they promote what they call stakeholder capitalism, right? What that stakeholder capitalism is, if you look it up and read about it, stakeholder capitalism is actually just a clever way of naming Marxism. Because it's actually Marxism. Instead of reading capitalism, stakeholder Marxism, stakeholder communism. That's all it is. They've added the word capitalism to make it sound to impressionable people that it's oh, it's not that far off from what you've got in the West. It's just a little bit more sharing. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's communism. And that's what they're trying to push. And Charlie's so stupid, he's obviously tagging on with it, thinks it's great, so he lets Starmer get away with whatever he wants to. Starmer ain't got a clue. I mean, let's face it, the guy, I mean, he comes across as a thicko, doesn't he? I know he's a lawyer. I know he's an attorney, you know, he's passed his bar exams and all the rest of it. But look, if you know, if it walks like it is one, isn't it, right? He just acts like he's clueless. But then again, you think he probably is a highly intelligent man who is just no common sense. He doesn't think through the consequences of his words, his actions, everything else. Like after Southport, he said, oh, it's all far right. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. So he took all that action, branded everyone that was involved with the Southport thing. I mean, I never even knew about it, to be fair. It passed me by till afterwards. But he branded all of those. Anybody who actually stood up against that chap who got caught, they were all far right, apparently. That was all far right doing. That was, you know, promoted by the far right, blah, 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 and all the rest of it. But then now we hear that, you know, there's a statement comes out to say, no, we've investigated it all. Nothing to do with the far right. No involvement of the far right at all. This was just people. This was just locals upset, what had happened. I mean, you've got to think, well, they got a bloody point. Weren't they allowed to be a bit upset? 3 young girls, little baby girls, lost their lives. The rest of them in that place were scared to death, probably never recover. Are we not allowed to be upset anymore? I mean, back in the 80s or 90s, they wouldn't have said, oh, you can't be upset about that. Don't say nothing about that. You don't go talk about that down the pub. I mean, the whole country would have been upset. Mrs. Thatcher probably would have sent the bloody army in to arrest the guy. And, I mean, he wouldn't have come out, would he? Let's face it. They'd have just found him. And they say, oh, yeah, he died in the struggle, unfortunately. I mean, I'm not saying that's right, but, you know, the trouble is that the world, these lefties, they all think the world's full of roses and that nothing ever matters. Anything that happens is never going to damage anybody or be dangerous. But the world is a dangerous place. And terrorists and communists and idiots, they are not going to play by the rules. They're not going to play by the rules. Just because you're trying to be nice, don't lock him up. Oh, be nice. Think about it. Oh, he might have had a hard time. He come across on a boat. He might have got a bit wet or something. He swallowed a bit too much salt. Give him some... Well, yeah, for as much leeway as you give these people, they're still evil bastards, aren't they? Right? When they're evil, they're evil. Just because you're nice to them doesn't mean they're going to not be evil. They're still going to carry on and be criminals and everything else that they want to be. So you've got to take the bull by the horns and allow it, you know, call a dog, you know, that's what, you know, if that's what they are, that's what they are. Treat them as such. Lock them up, deport them, whatever. But that's by the by. I mean, you've got to look at the gun control argument in America. You know, they've got a Second Amendment right to bear arms. End of story. They can all, if they want to go out and buy a gun, there's nothing that can stop them doing it. Absolutely right, because a gun is for protection, not only from the public, but also from a tyrannical government. Now, people might say, oh, that's over the top, don't need it. They do. Because if you imagine, if someone breaks in your house on the night time, and they come in, if they're intent on essaying your wife or your kids, or burning you alive, or whatever they might want to do, they can do it, because you ain't armed. What are you going to do? Oh, look, watch out or I'll hit you with my stick. There's a group of people in your house. They don't care. They want to do what they want to do. They're going to steal your stuff. They're going to smash your place down. They're going to burn the place down. Whatever they want to do, they're going to do. There's no deterrent. But in America, in most of the states, you break in someone's house, they're going to walk in with a gun. They're going to say, sit down and wait for the police, or else. If you don't sit down and wait for the police, you're going to get shot. Tough shit. And I think it's absolutely right. Defend yourself, defend your family. Why not? Why shouldn't you be able to do that? We should be able to do that here. Because if you had an armed citizenry, you've got a polite citizenry. Simple as that. If you know everybody around you is armed, you're not going to try something violent on and act the fool and all the rest of it. because you know the consequences. That's like speeding past a police car. You know it's there, you can see it, so you ain't going to speed past a police car unless you're an asshole. So it slows you down because you know he's there. And that's what a gun ownership does. It provides an environment where a criminal has no advantage over you. Therefore, he can't rely on getting away with what he's going to do. So it prevents a lot of crimes, like having an alarm on the outside your house. Whether it's just a box or whether it's connected to anything, a criminal looks at it and says, oh, there's a good chance that's an alarm. Fuck that, I'll go next door. You haven't done anything, but you've gone next door, he ain't robbed you. The next door gets robbed, that's their own fault. They didn't put an alarm box up, did they? I mean, there's always the joke, isn't there, about, during the election campaign, people putting up, said, if you put up a sign saying you support Trump or you support Democrats in your yard, if you've got one up saying Trump, the criminals are noting that's wrong. That's a house probably with some guns. We won't ever rob those. But if they see a sign saying Democrat, that's the house to rob, because they ain't gonna have guns. They're probably a bit LGBTQE and all the rest of it, and a bit lovey-dovey, and they're going to get away with it. So they're the houses that were being robbed. And it's true. So anyway, so that's old Starmer. I mean, let's get off of him because he's just a twat. Anyway, the old Bill. So there's a fella this week, copper, a year or so ago. He went out to arrest a guy. There's a 15-year-old kid. But when you say 15-year-old kid, I mean, some of these 15-year-old kids are 6'4", aren't they? And let's face it, we've all seen them. So he goes out, he's trying to arrest a 15-year-old kid who's they know he's carrying a knife. They've got intelligence saying he's carrying a knife, and this guy has committed a violent offence. So the coppers are out looking for him, and they see him. This copper jumps out his car, goes over and arrests this kid. And in the course of arresting, the kid's struggling, resisting. So the copper manhandles him onto the ground, gets him in his cuffs, and tells him in those uncertain terms, you're going to jail, you're arrested, tough luck, sort of thing. Now, in the scheme of things, so what? Did the kid get hurt? He never got hurt. He claimed, oh yeah, he's assaulted me. Well, same as you're assaulted and saying you're hurt, it's two different things, isn't it? But like the George Floyd chaos caused by a bloke who had a heart attack from swallowing his own fentanyl supply, and claiming he was the no breathing was because the Derek Chauvin kneeling on his neck. He never ever knelt on his neck, he knelt on his back. You can see that clearly in the video, but there we go. Anyway, this kid's moaned and groaned. So the copper's been fired for not showing enough respect to a 15-year-old kid. They had a blade that they found on him about bloody 12 inches long. He's just assaulted some old fella. He's wanted. And the copper was a little bit aggressive on the side of getting him onto the ground. He had to be, because if you back off in that situation, you're going to get yourself stabbed as well. Because you think that kid ain't going to stab a copper? He's going to stab anybody around him to get away. That's all he wants to do. Of course he's got to be manhandled to the ground. Tough luck. Crikey, when I was growing up, you knew if you committed a crime and the old Bill came for you, if you struggled, they were going to give you a good hiding. That was the point. That's part of your punishment. You're getting nicked and they hurt your hand, putting them in the cuffs, or they tripped you up and you fell on your face or whatever. Well, you could easily not do the crime. I mean, don't do the crime, they ain't going to be looking for you. No one's going to give you a good hiding, are they? I mean, it's just beyond belief now. So the copper had to apologise, obviously. And then, obviously, I expect the 15-year-old probably got a trip to Disneyland and a few quid out of it as well. And the copper loses his job. How ridiculous. What a fucking joke. Yeah, he can appeal it. But do you think the appeal's going to get anywhere with all the lefties that are going to be sitting on that board? Oh, yeah, but you hurt him. Oh, no, and he's a little bit brown-skinned. Oh, he's probably you. We don't know you. We think that might have had a racist overtone. No, he was a criminal. He got arrested. There's nothing racist about it. Stop putting race on everything. There's not racism. Race is not important in 99.99999% of situations. Nobody cares. Honestly, nobody gives a damn. It's not a racist country. It really ain't. Nobody notices race. Nobody gives a toss about race. He was a criminal. He needed to get arrested. So what? Big deal. So he hurt himself. So what? Tough luck. He hurt the old boy, didn't he? Anyway, so that's my take on that. Obviously, this is my personal opinion. I'm not trying to cite anything, obviously, clearly. Just make sure that's for the for the lawyers. On a brighter side, Ricky Gervais just won, he got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, so congratulations to Ricky Gervais. I think he's brilliant. I think he's hilarious. He obviously says the wrong thing. The left is hating. They try to cancel him a dozen times, but he's so bloody good. He just simply doesn't accept being cancelled. He just says, no, fuck you. Can't cancel me. I'm carrying on. And he just carries on. He keeps winning. They hate it, but he keeps winning. And he even made a few digs at like Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby, who obviously left his sort of try and protect all the time when he did the acceptance speech, but it was quite good. He got his his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame outside the Chinese Theatre. So that's not many people get to do that, so that's pretty good. And then finally, this is the funniest one. My daughter, so obviously watches YouTube and all that, and I remember seeing this JoJo Siwa. Must have been her earlier stuff my daughter was watching, where she's singing and dancing and all that, and actually she's quite catchy tunes, I remember. So JoJo Siwa, but then in the last few years, apparently she came out, or during the Biden campaign. Obviously, everything like that happened during the Biden campaign. So she's an American singer. She used to be on some dance show as a kid prodigy sort of thing, where they showed her mum's bullying them essentially and things. And anyway, so JoJo Siwa. So it turned out she was a lesbian. Nobody could give a shit anyway. But apparently she had a few meltdowns and things like that about being a lesbian. Her girlfriend was a non-binary person, whatever the fuck that means. But she was LGBTQ, so they used to sort of big her up and all the rest of it. And then this last week, Pride Month started supposedly in the United States, although most people are ignoring it. But Pride Week starts, and the news story now is JoJo Siwa ain't a lesbian no more. She's got a boyfriend. His name's Chris Hughes. Now I have no clue who he is, but he must be media linked in some way or something, because you get the impression you should know who he is, but probably if you're American you do, and British you don't. But it's JoJo Siwa. She's now with this guy. They're both madly in love. She's no longer a lesbian, and now she's moaning that the lesbians, the LGBTQ people, are having a pop at her, saying she was never a lesbian, and oh, it's disgusting, it's wrong. You can't just change like that. It's like, well, hold on a minute. So the people that say you can change your biological sex, so you can go from being a biological man, to you are classed as a biological woman if you decide that you're a woman and you have a bit of operations and stuff. Yeah, you can do that. What you can't do is change who you fuck. So if you like fucking girls and then all of a sudden you say, no, I'm going to fuck guys now. You can't change. That's impossible. That's absolutely impossible. To change who you want to fuck, that's an impossible situation. But change yourself biologically by stating that you want to change biologically, that is total, absolute, categorical fact. What a joke, innit? Absolute fucking joke. So she's persona non grata now. I expect all shares in her companies and everything, all her business, it should never work again, probably. I always think, I don't know if anybody is old enough like me to have seen Married with Children back in the old days, a US show that used to be on ABC with Al Bundy and the rest. Married with Children, fantastic. And there's a character called Marcy Darcy on that, who in real life, the lady who plays Marcy Darcy is a lesbian. There was always in the background, apparently, there was always a bit of friction between the main characters because of her politics and beliefs. But JoJo Siwa, every picture I've ever seen of her as a older woman, because I obviously, like I say, I only knew her as a kids program that my daughter used to watch, but as an older, a teenager, young adult, she looks just like Marcy Darcy, absolutely spitting image from Marcy Darcy at the same sort of ages. So yeah, there we go, a bit of payback for him. And of course, we all know that Joe Biden has officially been cloned. We know it was a clone. Hopefully, fingers crossed, right? They will end up cancelling the pardons of all those people connected to the Biden campaign who were given pardons by the auto pen in order to try and protect them from paying the price for committing treason against the United States and against Donald Trump personally. Hopefully, if those pardons get removed, those people will be going into hiding because they will not want to pay the price, because people like Mayorkas and Jim Comey and all the rest of them, corrupt as fuck, and they're going to be in serious trouble if those pardons get lifted. Let's hope they do, because they need to clear house. I mean, Trump's doing a fantastic job. Don't believe the BBC, don't believe the ITV. look into it correctly, because there's the economic evidence in the States is categorical. The American economy is recovering massively and it is flying. And the investment into the States is at record levels. Unemployment is virtually zero all of a sudden. Unemployment virtually zero in the States across all categories. And so America's doing fantastic. So don't believe the bullshit. Research it yourself, because the TV is full of it. The TV is full of it. Because they, remember that BBC and ITV are invested in continuing a narrative they're told to produce by government, whether that be our government or whether it be by a globalist government influence on our government. The narrative is being forced to them to be force-fed to you. During COVID, people believed the BBC, and then I like to think that a lot of people have learned that the BBC was spouting a load of nonsense, really dangerous nonsense in some cases, and it wasn't based in any fact whatsoever. It was based in narrative. It was all being fed to them by government. Outright lies on many occasions. Remember the figures. Oh, he died with COVID. Not of COVID, with COVID. But we were supposed to believe that, oh, so he had COVID, but he had a heart attack and died. But apparently that was COVID's fault. Fucking wasn't, was it? COVID had nothing to do with heart attacks. But apparently, because he had COVID, within 4 weeks of having his heart attack, that was COVID death. That was what they were doing. So, the numbers were like, 10 times what they should have been and all the rest of it for deaths. It was all bullshit, but all designed basically to manipulate, frighten people, instill the fear of God into people, which a lot of people were. I mean, look at the idiots that were walking around. There's still idiots now walking around with masks on. They haven't caught up with the message that COVID died off 4 years ago. So, yeah, don't believe the narrative. Trump's doing fantastically well. I'm really proud of it. I mean, I think it's brilliant. And every American that I know, admittedly, I'll obviously gravitate towards people like myself, or like-minded to myself. But every American I've spoken to is absolutely loving it. And deportations, yes, he's deporting illegal immigrants. And they say, oh yeah, but they haven't committed a crime. Yeah, they have. They're illegal immigrants. The fact they're in America illegally is the crime. So there's no such thing as an illegal immigrant that is not a criminal. They're all criminals, illegal immigrants. So if you get caught over there illegal, you get kicked out. What did you expect? Tough shit. Get over it. Wankers. Anyway, that's enough of me. I hope you liked the rant. It went on a bit. I knew it was going to be a short 3 minutes and all that. But hopefully I've said some things. Obviously, this is my personal opinions. I don't want anybody to take actions and all the rest of it. But fucking hell, I'm just speaking. I'm just an Englishman who's, just gets bored with listening to the bullshit. And if I see lies or I see injustice, I'm going to point it out. Why not? Why not? I'm entitled. We got free speech. Apparently, Keir Starmer said we got free speech. He was lying because he didn't think we got free speech. But he was stating actually a fact that we do have free speech. We are entitled to say our piece, whether he likes it or not. And if you don't agree with him, tough shit. Anyway, I'm off to find some Ukraine. No, I'm not. I'm going to do some work. But if you would, I would love it if you would subscribe. Give me some advice. I'm new to this. Give me some advice. Engage with me in the comments. Even if you want to have a row with me, please, by all means do. I love having a row. And it could be a funny row, or you could take it seriously if you want. I don't care. It's no problem. I'll have a bit of banter with you. But yeah, but be safe. Look after yourselves. Enjoy the day. It's looking quite nice out there at the moment. So enjoy your day. We don't have much of a summer, so make the most of it, because it'll probably be pissing down next week. Yeah. Speak to you soon.